All right, let's get right to it. Today, we're stepping into the shoes of a top-tier consultant. Our mission? To take on those really complex problems, not with more stress and frantic energy, but with a tool, a surgical tool that turns absolute chaos into crystal clarity. We are here to master the cause and effect diagram.
You know the scene, right? A huge project goes completely off the rails. Some key metric just tanks. And bam, the meeting room is full of finger-pointing, competing theories, just chaos. It's a blame game and nobody knows the way forward. Well, that's what happens when you don't have a framework to guide your thinking. But what if you could replace all that noise with a clear, visual map that leads you straight to the root of the problem?
So here's our game plan. First, we'll dissect the anatomy of a problem itself. Then, I'm going to introduce you to the Ishikawa diagram. It's a game changer. From there, we'll do a hands-on walkthrough of how to build one, then we'll learn how to zero in on the real root cause from all the possibilities, and we'll wrap up with some pro-level best practices so you can really master this thing.
Okay, let's kick things off with a core challenge here: unstructured thinking. See, when a problem blows up, our natural instinct is to jump to the first conclusion we can think of, or just fix the most obvious symptom. And that leads to so much wasted time and money, and the solutions, they never last, because we never actually solve the underlying issue. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a wound that really needs stitches.
And this is where our tool comes into play, the cause and effect diagram. At its heart is a visual tool. It's designed to do one single thing incredibly well: to map out all the possible causes, the inputs that might be creating a specific problem, the output. It brings a ton of structure to brainstorming, and it is, without a doubt, the critical first step in any real root cause analysis.
Now, this tool has a few different names. The formal one is the Ishikawa diagram, named after its creator, the brilliant Japanese quality control expert Kaoru Ishikawa. But you're going to hear it called a fishbone diagram most of the time, for the pretty obvious reason that, well, it looks like a fish skeleton. Whatever you decide to call it, this is your antidote to chaos. It is a structured, methodical way to systematically break down any problem you're facing.
So when do you pull this out of your toolkit? Well, it's perfect for those complex problems where there could be a dozen different causes. Think about a drop in customer satisfaction. That's never just one thing, right? You use this to dig for the root causes, not just the surface-level symptoms. It's also fantastic for seeing how different factors might be interacting with each other, giving you that solid foundation you need before you start taking action.
All right, enough theory, let's get practical. This next part is basically a masterclass in building one of these diagrams from a blank page. This is where the concept becomes a concrete, actionable plan. We are going to create clarity step by step.
The whole process is actually pretty straightforward. It boils down to 5 key steps. Number 1, nail down the problem. Be super specific. That's the head of our fish. 2, you draw the main spine. 3, you identify the big picture cause categories. These become the main bones. 4, this is the fun part. You brainstorm all the little subcauses for each category. And finally, step 5, you step back and analyze the whole diagram to see what patterns jump out.
Now, for step 3, figuring out those major categories, we're going to use a classic consultant's framework, the 6 M's. This is what we call a MECE approach. That's M-E-C-E, and it stands for mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. It's just a fancy way of saying our categories don't overlap, and together they cover every possible angle. Now, the 6 M's are the gold standard in manufacturing, but don't forget, these categories are flexible. If you're in a service industry, you might use something like the 8 P's, which add stuff like product and price. The goal is always the same: get a complete, structured view.
So our first M is man, or, more appropriately, people. This bone is all about the human element. We're asking questions here. Do our people have the skills they need? Is the training any good? Is it consistent? Is there a breakdown in communication between shifts or maybe between departments? Anything related to the people involved in the process, it goes on this bone.
The second M is methods. This one is all about how the work actually gets done. Are our standard operating procedures clear and easy to follow? Or are they confusing? Do we have conflicting policies that are creating problems? Is the process even being followed in the first place? This category really forces you to take a hard look at the procedures themselves.
Okay, next up, machines. This category covers every single piece of equipment, every tool, every computer system that's needed to do the job. So here we're looking at things like, is maintenance being done correctly? Are the tools calibrated properly? Or is some of the equipment just getting old and not performing like it used to?
Our fourth M is materials. This covers all the raw materials, the parts, the supplies that get used in the process. We have to analyze the quality of these inputs. Is one of our suppliers sending us inconsistent stuff? Is there a problem with a particular batch of material? Even simple things like consumables can be a source of problems, so they need to be considered here too.
Number 5 is measurements, and this one is so important. This is all about the data we're using to judge quality. How are we even measuring success? Are our tools accurate? Is everyone collecting the data in the same way across all shifts? Look, if your data is garbage, your entire analysis is going to be garbage. This category helps you make sure your data is solid.
And finally, our 6th M is environment. This covers the conditions where the work is happening. It can be physical stuff like the temperature in the room, the lighting, the location, but, and this is a real pro insight, it can also include the less tangible stuff, like the workplace culture. A high-pressure, blame-focused culture can absolutely be a root cause of errors.
So there we are. We've used the 6 M's, we've brainstormed with the whole team, and now we have this amazing fishbone diagram filled with dozens of potential causes. But hold on, we are not done yet. A completed diagram is the start of the analysis, not the end. Now we have to find the signal in all that noise. And this isn't about guessing. It's about looking for themes that keep popping up or using techniques like multi-voting to prioritize what really matters.
And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? You're looking at this detailed map of everything that could be wrong. It can feel a little overwhelming. How do you go from this huge list of possibilities down to the 1 or 2 things that are actually wrong? How do you find that true root cause?
The answer is you have to pivot. You use your big diagram to identify the most likely suspects. And then, for those specific items, you bring in another powerful tool, the 5 whys. For instance, let's say inadequate training on your people bone looks really suspicious. You ask, why is the training inadequate? And when you get an answer, you ask why again. You drill down through about 5 layers of why until you get past the symptoms and uncover the fundamental breakdown in the process.
We've covered the what, the why, and the how, so now let's talk about using this tool like a seasoned pro. These are the best practices that take an analysis from just okay to truly game-changing. This is how you turn the fishbone from a simple drawing into a strategic weapon.
The benefits of doing this right are just massive. It forces everyone to think systematically. It creates this powerful visual that gets the whole team on the same page. It's an amazing catalyst for teamwork. And most importantly, it saves a ton of time and money by stopping you from chasing the wrong problems. You build a shared, accurate understanding of what's really going on.
The first, and honestly the most important best practice, is a shift in your mindset. You have to resist that powerful urge to jump straight to solutions. The whole point of this exercise is to deeply, deeply understand the cause. If someone in the brainstorming session yells out a solution, you gently guide them back. Ask them, that's a great idea for a solution, but what cause on our map would it actually be addressing? Stay disciplined. Focus on the cause. And finally, don't stop at the easy, obvious answers. Real root cause analysis requires a relentless sense of curiosity. You have to go beyond the superficial stuff. For every causal chain, you keep asking why, and you keep asking why until it just feels absurd to ask it again. That is how you know you've finally hit bedrock. That persistence is what uncovers the biggest insight.
So we've made the journey. We went from the complete chaos of an unstructured problem to the absolute clarity of a systematic analysis. You now have the framework, you have the steps, and you have that pro-level mindset to deconstruct any issue that comes your way. So I'll leave you with this question. What complex problem, at work or maybe even in your own life, are you going to deconstruct first?